Hey guys, it's Tyler from Peregrine, and we're back with another episode of Thank God It's Happy Hour. This week we're taking advantage of the last few weeks of summer to make one of the classic hot weather drinks, the Mint Julep. So let's get into it. So the word julep has been around for a long time, specifically used to refer to usually sweet drinks delivering some sort of medicine. It's probably derived from the Persian word golub, which can be translated into like rose water or something similar. In Western history, specifically English history, the julep was again used to deliver medicine, usually camphor, which is sort of like eucalyptus, and was generally prescribed by a doctor to treat like minor things like an upset stomach or trouble swallowing or anything like that. In the following years, the julep sort of became more standardized, more closely related to the cocktail that we know today, and began to be available in things like bars and taverns instead of a trip to the doctor. At this point, this is around the mid-1800s, the julep was made with all sorts of different boozes like whiskey or brandy, gin, both fresh or aged, and even things like sparkling wine. The rest of the ingredients are pretty standard though, so you have sugar, water, ice, and of course the namesake ingredient mint, which was usually grown fresh, out back behind the bar. So it was definitely an available ingredient pretty much anywhere you went. Today, the drink is made with either Kentucky whiskey or bourbon and is usually most associated with the Kentucky Derby, where it's definitely got a pretty heavy following. This cocktail is pretty easy to make and comes together quickly. We're going to do a little bit more of like an old-fashioned version that uses raw sugar as opposed to syrup, because I find it helps sort of macerate the mint a little bit better and release some of those oils that we're after. The one variation that we are going to do is build this guy in a shaker, just because it makes it easier to incorporate the sugar and crack the ice and do a bunch of things all at once, so we don't have to mess around, mixing it in the glass and cracking ice and all that sort of stuff. So to start, we're going to grab our small cube of our shaker and a sugar cube and a healthy pinch of fresh mint. You kind of want to avoid the stem parts. The leaves is really what we're after. And then we'll grab a muddler. I tend to avoid muddlers that have like teeth or any sort of texture on the end because it can just cut up the mint as opposed to pressing down on it and expressing some of those oils. But, the choice is up to you. And we're just going to muddle this all together. So break up the sugar and sort of give the mint a bit of a bruising. Great. And then from there we can add our whiskey. We're going to do 2 full ounces of Buffalo Trace here. There is some people will say that this drink can only be made with bourbon, but the official recipe from the Kentucky Derby specifically requests Kentucky whiskey, so there's definitely differing facts there. Really, I think use whatever you want. Whatever tastes good is kind of a good choice in general. And from here, we're just going to add our ice and shake this guy together. And once we're ready, I'm going to add a little bit of ice, and then we're just going to strain the You definitely want a good amount of ice on this guy, and then we'll just strain it out to remove those sort of weird looking chunks of mint. And then we'll grab a fresh guy to garnish this up, seems appropriate. We'll wrangle one of these fresh pieces of mint. Again, give it a slap, and then we'll just tuck it inside of the drink. And there we go. A quick sort of easy version of the mint julep. I know a lot of times this is served in sort of like copper cups and all that sort of stuff, but in my mind it doesn't really change the drink, so whatever you have on hand is perfectly acceptable to serve this guy in. And it's super nice. That's really, I think, a very good adjective to describe this drink. It's not really pulling you intensely in any sort of direction one way or the other. You have a good amount of whiskey flavor, which is nice, but it's toned down by everything else. It's sweet. It's fairly long. There's a good amount of water in here as well, just to sort of tame that, and it is bourbon to begin with, so you're not really getting any sort of harshness off the whiskey, but you do get that sort of pleasant, like wood-aged whiskey sort of flavor. The mint is there, like, very subtly, but again, it's not really taking over. In a lot of ways, it tastes almost like an old-fashioned, but I would say, obviously, without the Angostura and adding in mint, it's sort of like a variation on that theme. You do definitely get the mint when you like breathe in and sort of smell. You can smell the mint when you smell it. But yeah, it's otherwise super balanced, you know, a great hot weather drink that you aren't really thinking about a whole lot, but again, like, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why this is a classic in 40-degree weather. And I do think it is sort of a nice, like, end of summer drink for that reason. You know, you can drink it all summer if you want, but it's nice to sort of finish up the season with something like fresh like this, but also with the flavors of whiskey, which to me sort of lead into fall a little bit as well. So it's nice. Yeah, so there you go. The classic mint julep, prepared maybe a little bit differently than some, but still a very delicious cocktail. If you like this sort of thing, these sort of classic cocktails and learning how to make them, be sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe, and otherwise we'll see you in the next one. Cheers!